Hi, my name is Ian Kinder. I'm with a school called Live Safe Academy, and today I want to talk about the number one cause of gun accidents. I'm actually starting a new series called New Gun Owners Academy. This is going to be a video series and a podcast series. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we have a lot of new gun owners, but not everybody knows how to handle their guns in a way that is safe and responsible. And this is a big deal because when we talk about any other type of force, so learning how to defend yourself without the use of a weapon, or learning how to defend yourself with a sharp weapon or impact weapons or tasers or pepper spray, for the most part, the only one who's in danger is the person that you're defending yourself against. However, when you own a gun, when you're handling a gun, you are now responsible for every life within the range of that bullet. And bullets can travel a long distance with lethal potential. And guns are the power of life and death. That's a huge obligation. And we have to make sure that we can live up to that obligation. And we're going to start by talking about the number one cause of gun accidents. Now, if you feel this video is helpful, if you feel this podcast is helpful, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this video with other people. If you think this podcast is helpful, subscribe to our podcast, share the podcast with other people. And then go to livesafeacademy.com/connect, which is in the video description and the podcast description. And when you click on that link, you'll have access to all of our videos, our podcasts, our articles, to our in-person classes in the Detroit, Michigan area, and our live virtual programs that you can participate in from anywhere in the world. And always go to the video description, the podcast description, because we'll always have important information there about the topic that's being discussed. And let's talk about this topic when we deal with the issue of safety. The cause of gun accidents, all gun accidents, comes from two things: lack of knowledge and attitude. Now, the lack of knowledge part is easy to fix, right? That's why we're doing this series. You can go to YouTube, you can go to the internet, you can take classes, you can learn from knowledgeable people who already understand how to be safe and responsible, and then you can learn how to be safe and responsible. The knowledge part is the easy part. The next part requires a lot of diligence, and it's something that only you have control over. So as an example, I've been involved with guns for many, many years, having been to a lot of training events, both for the public and with law enforcement. I can tell you that the only gun accidents that I've witnessed on a range have been from law enforcement. Now, let me start by saying I'm not singling out law enforcement here. Some of the smartest people that I know, the most loyal and dedicated and disciplined people that I know are in law enforcement. So, but why am I bringing this up? Well, we got to break this down to understand the issue. When people get comfortable with guns, they can oftentimes become complacent with guns. Because law enforcement as a profession has to handle guns all the time, they have to become comfortable with the guns that they handle. That can cause some people to become complacent. And the more confident that people become, the more complacent that they can become. And it's when you're complacent that you have accidents. That's the dynamic that we need to understand. So when Michigan, as an example, became a shall issue state, which means if you meet the criteria stated in the law, the state must issue you a concealed pistol license. That reform was signed back in 2000 and it went into effect in 2001. So we had a lot of students that were coming to us because we've been teaching that class since the reform was first signed. We're actually one of the first schools here in the state of Michigan to offer that training. And I would have people that would come to me and they would say, I don't need this class. I've been carrying a gun for 20 years. Because before we were a shall issue state, we were a may issue state. And depending on, if people had a license because they had a business or whatever, they could still be carrying a gun even before the shall issue reform. So people were kind of resentful. Some people were resentful about taking the class. And when somebody said to me, I've been carrying a gun for 20 years, I don't need this class, I right away in my mind said, I got to watch this person because they could very well be one of the least safe people in my class. And when I would watch them very often, that I've been carrying a gun for 20 years, I don't need this class, was the least safe person in the class, required us to monitor them and make sure that everything was safe. The reason why is because they got comfortable and they got complacent. And anybody who has the power of life and death who says, I don't need more training, is probably an unsafe person. So we need to make sure that we are always diligent and conscious about being safe and responsible. We can never develop a level of comfort that makes us complacent. We can never forget that when we own a gun, when we are handling a gun, that we have the power of life and death, that we have the responsibility that goes with that power. Now, on the next series, the next video podcast in this series, we're going to talk about the number one rule of safe gun handling. And then we're going to continue to progress from there. And we're going to break down the anatomy of a gun. We're going to talk about the anatomy of ammunition. We're going to talk about how those two function together. We're going to talk about how to properly store the gun so that we can get to it quickly enough to stop something from hurting us and our family, but so that we can keep it inaccessible to unauthorized users. And both of those are safety issues, and we need to have a way of accomplishing both goals simultaneously. If you enjoy this series, if you feel the video and podcasts are helpful, remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share the video with other people. Subscribe to our podcast, share the podcast with other people. Then go to the video description, the podcast description, and go to livesafeacademy.com/connect. When you click on that link, you'll have access to all of our podcasts, our videos, our articles, our in-person classes in the Detroit, Michigan area, and our live virtual classes that you can participate in from anywhere in the world. And always go to our video description and our podcast description, because we'll always have important information there about whatever the topic of that show is. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to contact us directly in that in the notes, in the description for the video and the podcast. You'll also have all the contact information for our school. Guys, we're doing this as a public service. We want to help people. We want to help you to be safe because we know what's at stake. Thank you very much for giving me your time. Have a wonderful day and be safe.